So good morning, I'm Simon Stenning, I'm the founder of Future Food Service, and we forecast, funnily enough, the future of food service, or hospitality, whatever you want to call it, but we talk about everything that is consumed out of home, and also we cover the accommodation side as well, but more about the food service elements. So I'm going to talk to you about the future. I'm still getting some feedback. I hope that's okay. But, I'm going to talk to you about the future of food service. And when we think about the future, we can get a little bit carried away, can't we? We think that we might end up eating this sort of food. Yes? Hopefully not. Perhaps we think this is what we're eating in the future. Hopefully not. And I don't think we will. Sometimes we get carried away with the future, don't we? We think that perhaps all foods are going to be produced by 3D printing. Yeah, perhaps they are. I think 3D printed foods, bioreacted, bioprinted, part of the long-term future for what we eat, both in home and out of home. Moving away from plant-based alternatives, fake meats, and so on. What about this? Do we think that all foods are going to be delivered to us by drones? When you see the number of robots around here, yeah, do we think that's the case? I'm not getting many people saying yes. That's good, because I don't think that's the case. But sometimes we do get a bit, don't we? Perhaps we're all going to be in the metaverse, yeah? We're actually not. Of course, there's one thing you can't do in the metaverse. You can't eat and drink, can you? So I think that girl in the middle is actually missing out. It's an interesting one. But when we think about the future, and robots are potentially a big part. Actually, the future's already with us. Has everyone seen the Cafe X arm in California, San Francisco? Oh, it's brilliant. You order from a little iPad, the arm turns around, presses a button on the coffee machine, coffee comes out, it picks it up and gives it to you through a little chute thing. Doesn't that sound like a vending machine? A very expensive vending machine. So we have to be careful with how we get carried away with some ideas of what will work in the future and what won't work. But it's easy to see the future is already here. Does anyone recognize Flippy? Flippy, the burger Flippy robot. Sad tale for Flippy. He's the guy who got sacked on his first day. He wasn't good enough, he wasn't quick enough, and pulled the plug. But of course, the one good thing with robots that's a bit harder with humans is you can reprogram them. So good news, there's a nice end to this tale. Flippy got reintroduced, he got his job back, and he's now being rolled across the US. Yet to come to the UK, but at some point, hopefully, we will see him here. But why is this so important for the future? Well, what is it that Flippy's doing? Well, basically, he's replaced a very manual, menial task that's repetitive, that we're finding it. If anyone saw Kay Nichols talking about the challenge of finding people, it's quite difficult to get people to do those sort of jobs. This is where technology, this is where robots, etc., can be the future of our industry. And of course, Flippy's got cousins. Yeah, he's got Dippy for chip frying. He's got Sippy for drinks. He's got Chippy for tortilla chips, etc., etc. And you can see that the future actually is around replacing basic human tasks with this sort of automation. But sometimes we can get carried away by it. We'll come back to that. I think it's definitely going to be different on the basis that consumers now are able to get what they want, whenever they want it, and wherever they are. That when you order and pay app that ties up with what you can get your order delivered to your 3-meter squared space, wherever you are, it signifies some significant changes for how we as an industry interact with consumers. Because consumers are using technology to get whatever they want. And they're expecting products to go to them as opposed to coming to us. And that's certainly something to think about with the future. It certainly is going to be different. Now, fundamentally, we can say that the future will never be as, I hope. Shall I use the handheld? Switch me off and I'll use the handheld. Or shall I use the lectern? Which one? I use the handheld. Okay, fine. Luckily, I'm ambidextrous and I can do both of these things at the same time. Right, the future will never be as bad as this. We'll never see COVID-driven changes like this again. We hope, but I'm pretty certain and confident that that won't be the case. You can argue with me later if you like. That was terrible for the industry, and we're still recovering from it. But there have been some fantastic changes as a result. We've seen some good things happen. We've seen some bad things happen. We've got this example on the left-hand side of restaurants near Milton Keynes. They're all shut down. Out of that array there's only one which is still open. Anyone like to guess which one? Out of the array of signs there. Frankie Benny's, Nando's, Chiquito, Prezzo, Giraffe. Nando's, well done, yes. The Frankie and Benny's is now Tim Hortons. Now that COVID brought about some dramatic changes because of the financial problems, but it also brought about some changes from a consumer demand perspective. We've gone from away from a casual dining towards fast food. We're becoming more Americanized in our eating habits and the way in which we eat. Frankie and Benny's was a restaurant, sit-in restaurant. Tim Hortons, as you'll see, is a drive-through. Some significant changes coming through which are long-term. We've seen the donut effect, the polo mint, where everything from the city centres has moved outwards. And we've seen the success and continued success of businesses that are set up for suburban locations and for people who are wanting to go 10, 20 minutes away from their home rather than traveling into cities. So we're seeing some quite major changes. We've also seen that move towards technology and the fact that because of COVID, it was an opportunity for operators to shift their staffing from front of house to back of house by using kiosk technology, ordering, payment. Those are tasks which can easily be done by machines rather than by humans. And actually what we see are businesses like this, like Toast, putting all their staffing into the back of house operation to concentrate on delivering fresher, personalized, tailored food, rather than having staff doing something which machines can replace. We've seen it with, of course, the incredible reintroduction of QR codes, and now being used in a far better way to enable us to meet our needs, because the end of the meal experience, even in a site like the Woolsey, becomes incredibly frustrating. But there are challenges. You can't just rely on a QR code and people with smartphones to engage with, because you'll fall foul of people who don't have smartphones, or that you only do it half-assed. Got a brilliant example of a two Michelin star restaurant, gives you a QR code for a table to choose from the menus, but then fails at the end of the meal by not giving you the chance to pay. It's got to be done really well thought through. So very quickly, we've touched on what the future looks like with some of the automation. It's a theme I'm going to come back to. But first of all, we've got to understand what's happening with consumers. We have seen some major changes, some key trends that are developing with consumers. The first one I'm going to talk about is caring. I think that is fairly obvious that we know as a society we need to be more caring for society, for our older population, for what we're doing with the environment, limiting packaging, limiting wastage, becoming more local with what we're doing. So pubs becoming community shops and centres, etc. Recognizing what we eat, which Waitrose described nicely as climatarianism, has an impact on the environment. And so we're seeing technology enabling carbon counting, giving us yet another option when we're looking at a menu as to what we choose, not just about size or price, about calories and about the carbon footprint, but we're becoming more caring in general. And let's hope we continue. We also need to have more purpose, and we've become more purposeful with how we lead our lives. Some of that is about doing things which are better for the environment. Some of those are about just living our lives with greater purpose, described quite nicely by the FIRE concept. originated in California. Where else? Financial independence, retire early. So work through your 20s to your 30s as hard as possible, saving everything and spending nothing, so that you can jump off the hamster wheel in your early 40s and live off your savings. It's an interesting approach, but it is about having more purpose. And certainly with younger demographics nowadays, recognizing that they are going to have to potentially work for a lot longer, then having more purpose in their lives is very relevant. There is, of course, an antidote to fire, which is water. Won't aim to ever retire. And that's a theme which comes through younger demographics' desire for experiences, something which we'll touch on. But social enterprise becoming more important as well as we have more purpose. But of course, if we've got more purpose, we want to have more fulfillment. We want to achieve more. And that's why we're seeing the rise of the sidepreneur, side hustle, but also, and hopefully now as we seek to, or we encourage to get the over 50s back into employment, we're seeing the maturepreneurs coming back in. And that's a really interesting one, certainly from a technology perspective, where there is a slight disconnect, different ways of thinking and so on. But it's also about some of the challenges we set ourselves, that we're looking to achieve more, give ourselves more fulfillment. And again, that comes from experiences. Echoed again by this move towards a better work-life balance. We are moving towards a 4-day working week. Hooray! It was predicted 100 years ago that we would be working far less than we are now because machines will be doing it all for us. I think we'd all recognize that technology actually makes it easier for us to work harder, not less. But it is coming, and we are seeing through technology, through automation, that we can change the focus and do more from a leisure perspective rather than totally focusing our lives on work. We're seeing it with the rise of both competitive socializing, with the leisure experiences. It becomes so much more important for all of us, younger, older generations, seeking to get that better balance and move away just from a live to work rather than a work to live. And this is where we're seeing experiences and entertainment and leisure-tainment becoming so much more important. We're seeing it in the development of these competitive socializing spaces taking over from retail. Gravity famously took over the Debenham store in Wandsworth to create multi-story, not a multi-story car park, multi-story experiences. That's happening again, and they're continuing to expand into Westfield Stratford and further places. We see it with Meadow Hall's amazing redevelopment of Meadow Hall. Now, what's Meadow Hall? It's a shopping centre. What is it becoming? Well, that great big pink blob in the middle there is all about leisure and entertainment. That's because we're no longer going shopping in the same way. We still want to go to those big centres, but we're looking to do more whilst we're at them. And of course, food and beverage plays a major part in that new leisure and entertainment world. We see it with Gravity. They've got a complete range of food hall style food concepts run by Reef. We'll see it in Meadow Hall, that food and beverage becomes an integral part of that growing retail and leisure experience. And this is something we will see increasing in everywhere over the next 5-10 years. Because of course, experience is everything. Not just in that we've reached peak stuff moment from 10 years ago, just around now, we've lived through COVID, we know what it's like to be locked down. Yes, we might have improved our houses and we've bought the huge TV and the whatever, but actually we want to experience life more. And so experience is everything. We want to have big nights out. We want to have great social occasions. It is because the offer has become so much better that we're seeing, whether it's cocktail bars, whether it's restaurants, putting on a show, delivering that experience. We're seeing that mix of eating and drinking occasions, but built around big social occasions. And that's because that whole environment is part of the experience. And of course, we're seeing with the continued rise of competitive socializing. And whilst that, in theory, it's a leisure activity, of course, the food and beverage part
plays a major part in that whole experience. The drinks, the food, the whole experience. We're seeing it with becoming immersive, whether that's inside with the theatre going on around us. Lots of good developments going on there. Food and beverage is the critical part, but around us are the experiences. And what about that? How's that for an immersive experience for the outside world? Yep, that's a roller coaster round the funnel of a cruise ship. I think that's taking it quite far. Not sure if we'd all want to do that, but it just shows how important the experience is. And of course, it's regardless of cost. We saw this with Glastonbury. How much did the Glastonbury tickets go up this year? 25, 30%? Okay. How quickly did they sell out? Yeah. Well, actually, it took twice as long for the Glastonbury tickets to sell out. It took an hour because of a technical glitch. Normally takes half an hour. Yeah. Regardless of cost, we want to live our lives. And of course, we want to share those. And this is where digitalization and the whole food and beverage experience comes to life. We want those because we want to share our lives through our social media. And we're seeing experiences being tailored just for that, with seating arrangements, whether it's a nice little flower arch, whether it's very pink, or whether it's at sporting occasions where we can see this kind of immersive experience. Because we want to show that we were there. It's very important to us. Okay, so now looking at restaurants specifically, this is a segmentation I've done from a couple of years ago, but it's about tech-led automation at one end, replacing the human service element, but bringing the cost down. At least that's the theory. What we're seeing now is that morph into purely about the experience and about restaurants delivering an experience. At one end, destination dining, sophistication restaurants, absolutely delivering something which you cannot replicate at home. Whereas at the other end, we've got that social refueling. The real difficulty, and we're seeing it right at this moment with casual dining, is being caught in the middle. Not offering an incredible experience, but still trying to charge a relatively high amount. At that end, where we get some really interesting developments, where technology, fast food, drive-throughs are giving us an even market hall, street food markets, giving us that social refueling. What do I mean by social refueling? Well, here's one example, a good example of what's happening in terms of emergent trends coming through into the future. Marugame Udon, huge Japanese chain, 1,500 sites around the world, opened up in the UK in 2021, now up to 11 sites, all in London at the moment. But it's interesting because they've replaced their front of house staff, put them all on into the kitchen to deliver you your fresh udon noodles and tempura. And yet you could say there's nothing ever new in this world because they have reintroduced the tray rail. Yep, that trundle your tray along and pick up your food. But it's an interesting development. Whilst it's old school, what they're doing is concentrating all their efforts onto preparation of fresh, tailored, personalized food. And of course, you then get to help yourself to a bit of tempura. Who wouldn't love that? But at the other end of the scale, we're seeing the street food market move indoors into an example like Arcade Food Hall. Started off pre-COVID as Arcade Food Theatre, trying to be more restaurant-y, but realizing actually people want social refueling, more simplistic. The menu is now a QR code on your table, and they bring the food to you. But it's hardly a restaurant, much more street food base. And then we're seeing it with the increase of the supermarket food court, which again, who'd have thunk it that they'd come back. But yes, EG Group with Asda, Sainsbury's with Bapara and Restaurant Group, bringing the street food style market back into the supermarkets. There is still a market there, and that will continue developing. And of course, we're seeing digital kiosks playing a major role in those developments as we get used to taking out the human interaction and relying on digitalization in how we engage. Go back to that thought about younger demographics being able to, or expecting to be able to get whatever they want, wherever, whenever. That's continuing. And of course, we're seeing increased digitalization coming through with the likes of influencer brands creating menus, creating restaurants in dark kitchens, the likes of DJ Khaled. We all know DJ Khaled, yeah? He's my favorite, yeah? Come on. Or even the Sidemen, yeah? We all know who the Sidemen are, don't we? If you've got teenagers, they know who the Sidemen are. The Sidemen, YouTube vloggers, creating their own menu called The Sides, making it available through dark kitchens and available everywhere to teenagers' delight. And just a note, if you don't know the Sidemen, they recently organized a celebrity football match at Crystal Palace, and they got a bigger crowd than Crystal Palace do playing football. That's the way it's going. I've got incredible, there we go, I'm back on. I've got followers, which, am I running out of microphones? Can we switch to another one? Right, no, we're still going. And of course, our influencers, it's hard to speak when you can't hear yourself think. We've got new influencers. We've got incredible chefs here doing down in the Salon Culinaire. Yeah, amazing, amazing work. But actually, younger demographics, that's where they're getting influenced on what they eat. Looking at Big Zoo. He's not a chef, is he? You all know him, don't you? Musician, DJ, comedy, yeah? No? Get with it. He's influencing the way that younger demographics are eating. And of course, we've got, continuing that theme, Mr. Beast Burger, now available from village hotels as dark kitchens and available to teenagers all over the UK now. Again, if you've got teenagers, ask them about Mr. Beast. So it's fascinating to see how technology, how digitalization brings a whole new world of food and drink to a younger demographic. And if you think that, well, that's fine, it's just for the kids and they'll get over it when they get older, as we age, we take our behaviors with us. So we've got to expect that these sort of things, these developments of dark kitchens, influencers, will continue. So hold on a sec. We have got the Salon Culinaire. We've got some amazing chefs. What's happening at the other end of the scale with destination dining? What is good news there? Analysis of Michelin-starred restaurants in the UK. And no, Michelin are not the only arbiter of good standards. But it's quite a good indicator. You'll see that we've seen a 36% increase over the last 10, 11 years. And that will continue. We will see more of these restaurants being recognized, but it also shows there's a demand. There's a desire for those better quality, those more recognition restaurants. There is a danger. If anyone's ever seen the film recently, The Menu, watch it, because it just shows what happens when chefs get a bit carried away at this end of the scale. I thoroughly recommend everyone watch it. It's a brilliant film. We're getting experiential dining being introduced at different levels. It doesn't all have to be £200 a head meals. Six by Nico does this brilliantly, expanding across the UK. Hopefully everyone knows them. 6-course tasting menus for the princely sum of £40. Yeah, and they'll do 5 sittings a day, and they're packed. And what it's doing is it's introducing a new type of customer to this experiential dining, because it's affordable. Now, yeah, one of their dishes is a carrot, yeah. One of those dishes is a potato. You see how they do it, but it's a brilliant example of how to get people in, consumers in, to a different dining experience. We have Carousel, the restaurant that changes its whole chef team, the whole menu, the whole chef team, by bringing in guest chefs and providing something completely on a different variety scale. That's a way of engaging with consumers and giving them something different. Alternatively, we've got the gimmick, some would say, of the Monarch Theatre. The restaurant is part of Park Row, fully immersive. The walls change, the lighting changes, the table changes, the meals served to all 20 people at one time. Completely immersive experience, a bit like Ultraviolet in Shanghai, taking that concept. It's giving us something we cannot replicate anywhere else. And there's a desire for that, a demand for it, because we're wanting things that are a little bit wacky, a little bit more challenging to us. We're seeing that we can play with our food. This is a supper club kitchen theory that's using projected engagement. We're seeing a lot more developments in that array. But we're also, and yes, there's some challenges for the industry, without a doubt, through the course of this year. We're forecasting growth. There's all of these new restaurants opening up. These are all London. But it's just interesting to describe them as, premiumized, experiential, and glamorous. And two of them jump to the fore. One of which is Bacchanalia by Richard Caring in Mayfair. Yeah, you can. But the food critic described a visit to Bacchanalia as, you don't just want to eat the food, you want to stuff the whole thing inside your mouth and just take it all in. Because it's not about the food. It's about the atmosphere, the ambience, the people there. The whole experience is what you are there for. Jacuzzi from Big Mama Group. If you know the Big Mama restaurants, it is all about Instagram. It's about being there. It's not about the food. It is about the experience. So we're going to see more of these opening up, giving consumers something completely different. But we do have a changing landscape, and we've used this to try to describe all the variety of sites that are popping up. We know they're there, but nobody's ever really tried to define them and detail them, and that's what we've done. And this is just an example map, but of some of the different developments happening in the changing landscape. And this is what's going to be the case for the next 5 years. We're seeing new developments, further developments of drive-throughs. This is a new McDonald's site in the US, 2 lanes. We've seen Taco Bell introduce a 4-lane drive-through, using conveyor belts to drop the food down to your window for click and collect. Yeah, no. We don't want to wait in the queue with those other people for the drive-through. No, I'm phoning ahead. Sorry, I'm not phoning ahead. I'm using voice technology to order ahead from my car so I can then go and pick it up through click and collect. The restaurant, it's not a restaurant, has no eat-in seating. It's purely for takeout, for deliveries, for click and collect, special areas for delivery riders, no seating. We're then seeing at the other end of the scale, actually, because of the change to EV cars, we need to find places that give us time to recharge physically and with our EVs. So developments like Brightside from Loungers, there's nothing ever new. That is Little Chef for the 21st century. Yes, it comes back. You see how trends will change. OK Diner hasn't gone away, but it's delivering a better experience for us when we're on the road. The same with Molly's Diner from Soho House, giving us something a little bit different to a Travelodge or Premier Inn. How about this for an unmanned restaurant, so-called unmanned restaurant, EZ24 Ramen, taking an idea from Japan and Korea. It is a subscription model to a vending lobby, which gives you access to take as many noodles as you like. It's open 24 hours. It is unmanned. You make your own noodles with a very good piece of kit from Korea, which adds the hot water, cooks it, agitates it, you things on. It's an unmanned restaurant. Or is it, again, a glorified vending machine? We're seeing the Just Walk Out technology from Amazon, from that Sainsbury's have put in, Tesco have put in, coming into the contract catering space. It's an interesting development. This is using AI-Fi technology. Compass Group introducing it in Ireland. It's the ground floor of one of their client buildings. It is Just Walk Out, go in, pick up, out you go. If you haven't done it, you've got to do it. Get to one of the Amazon stores, Tesco stores. It's quite an incredible experience. But we're seeing that not just in contract catering with grab-and-go food, but what about what Levy have introduced into some of their sites? This is the first one at Leicester City. It's Just Walk Out technology for beer and for snacks. Scan, in you go, pick it up, out you go, job done. Speeding things up, giving us a better solution, and also helping to reduce the labor, again, as a recurring theme there. We are seeing some more robotic solutions. The Karakuri salad bar robot in the Ocado head office. It's a little bit of a gimmick. Hope nobody's here from Karakuri. Because as every chef down that end will tell you, yeah, that's all well and good, but somebody's got to clean up after him. But they are now developing into the chip frying or fully automation, and you can see how those developments will provide solutions for the future. I've talked about technology being applied badly. And that is where we're seeing some automation being applied just for the sake of it, rather than actually solving a solution. I talked about a QR code in a restaurant. If you're going to do it the whole way and do it properly. Use some of the augmented reality to bring specials to life through a QR code, a daily special. That famous 2 Michelin star restaurant, the maitre d' said in passing, oh, our daily special is something, 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 pollock, £68. £68 for pollock. And so how many people ordered pollock? No, because it wasn't brought to life. And yet, because we were looking at a QR code menu, it could have been. That's where technology needs to develop and needs to show different ways of doing things. So what's the future of tech in hospitality? Well, we're seeing our consumers' acceptance of digital kiosks. So great. We can get those everywhere, at restaurants, at hotels, in food-to-go places, completely accept, and that's the way to go. Do we see it going one stage further? Do we see it replacing human interaction? If anyone has come across any of these robots, they're brilliant, but then they're also completely useless. Actually, perhaps whilst we are moving towards replacing technology to, we're adopting technology to improve or enhance and eliminates the need for some of that front desk experience. Actually, having someone to talk to is quite nice. But we are seeing that technology come through. The fact now that we will engage through voice activation, through our digital devices, that there is an older population that will still want the human interaction, but we're seeing younger demographics of, I don't want to talk to anyone. And of course, we still need some help from a human perspective. Hotels can't handle luggage like airports. You see what people turn up to hotels carrying. It's not the same. But there are ways and means through using technology to deal with this, to make it more efficient, make it more effective, and to help eliminate some of the staffing requirements. But look, it's right to use the one tool that we all have, yeah? So using our phone to open up a room door, why not? That's the right development. But don't do that where I've got to hold my phone in one hand and try and operate a key in the other. Come on, I've also got all my other stuff with me. Make it simple, make it effective, and use those digital devices. You can't move falling over a robot running around. Although I did see one being walked out just earlier on before the show opened. They're almost perfect. They're a brilliant development that solves some problems. Certainly for room service, that's great, isn't it? But I don't know how often you order a couple of cups of coffee for room service. I don't see one of those bringing the whole tray, bottle of wine, cloche, etc. And of course, whilst it can tell you it's, hi, I'm outside your door, you still have to go out and get it. And of course, don't get caught in your dressing gown out in the corridor without your phone, because you then can't get back into the room. There are some limitations to these developments that haven't quite sorted everything, all the solutions. What do consumers want within hotels, within use of technology? Voice activation. Yeah, they can be a little bit annoying, but actually we're used to it now, shouting at our device to do something or don't do something, turn off, turn up, whatever. And that's what we're looking for, engagement within hotels. Yeah, we want to use our own devices. Come on, it's there. Why have to try and get used to something else? And of course, facial recognition, biometrics, those are sort of things that we should be engaging with, that the industry should be engaging with customers through. We could get carried away. This is some of that future thinking that we've got biosensors throughout our hotel room, including in the bathroom. How about a holographic pet, because we want to be, feel nice at home and so on. Personalized wellness through monitors, sensors. Yeah, all of these things we can see happening. An anti-gravity sleep and mindfulness chamber. You thought you just went to bed. No, into an anti-gravity sleep and mindfulness chamber. We can see those things developing, and we can see them coming down the track. And finally, just looking at how we engage, we have to, through our digital devices, seek engagement with the likes of beacon technology that recognizes us, that allows and The Order Pay example is a great example, an order and pay app that reskins itself through beacon technology to recognize that you are in a brand and tailors itself to suit what you're looking for. But of course, we're engaging in many different ways. Wearable technology is coming rapidly down the track. And these are ways now that we as an industry can engage with consumers. We know we've got our Apple Watches to pay. It's continuing in its development. And give it 5-10 years' time, then we will see all of these things being the way in which consumers engage with hospitality. We haven't seen the last of Google Glass either. This is still currently being used in the technical world for engineering and places like that. We will see those developments. Why not, when you check into a restaurant or a hotel, that they give you a pair of glasses that you can see, step on from augmented reality. We will see that happening. So the future continues to be different. Whilst I said that in the metaverse, because we do still want to put on the headset, dress up, and play at being a whatever that is, that you can't eat or drink in the metaverse. Well, Sandbox have introduced the Maker Shaker cocktail robot, which kind of moves to the next level. 150 cocktails an hour from those two arms, much better than a human can make. Quality's up there as well, so that continues to be the future. One thing, though, that I haven't touched on, which I've got to leave you with, what about AI? How are we going to be using AI in the future within our industry? Well, how about a menu created by AI? This was a test for the chat GPT that I put in. Can you give me a menu for a Greek-Japanese fusion restaurant? Because why not? It hasn't been done before. And what have we got? This is what it came up with within seconds. And if you can see the detail there, it is amazing. Now, we're at the very cusp of understanding what AI can do within our industry. Remember, we are an analog industry, make stuff with our hands, serve stuff. AI, though, can deliver some incredible developments for us. So if we fancy spanakopita sushi rolls or matcha lucamades, why not? That's what the future holds for us. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully I've got some time for some questions. Thank you.